Yeah, it is Tuesday, people. Welcome in, and I hope your day has gone swimmingly. Thank you very much for making us just a small little part of it as we try to recuperate from the Jet game last night. You know my Jet brethren. You know that I was up all night last night waiting for that game, watching that game, and got to tell you, I was a little bit paranoid after the pick six with Sam Darnold. But, it's funny how things have a way of working themselves out, especially when you have former New England Patriot assistant coaches as head coaches now in the NFL. But I do want to welcome you in, and if you are new here, if I haven't seen you a while or talked to you a while, I know Ross, you're trying to figure out where you can hear me and where you can find me. And the reality is, Ross, you can find me right here all day long as we do and broadcast you live each and every day. It's good to hear from you, Ross. As a matter of fact, it's good to see you, and it is good to see you, my friend. And I've got to tell you, I'm excited because coming up here in just about 10 minutes, an old friend of mine, Antwan Staley from Antwan Sports. He also works for USA Today. That is right, USA Today. He covers the Miami Dolphins as well as the Miami Hurricanes. We're going to talk to him coming up on top of the hour in just about 10 minutes. He's going to give us the latest on, and if you can believe this, but it's hard to believe that the Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets are both 1-0, and they are getting ready to head into MetLife Stadium this Sunday. And from what I understand, there's going to be an awful lot of Miami Dolphin fans that are hopping on a bus, that are hopping on all sorts of, cars, I guess. They're driving up, they're hopping on a plane, and all of a sudden it's going to be a MetLife takeover, from what I understand, with Dolphin fans. So I'm excited. I can't wait to talk to him, get all of that information out. And by the way, if you are new here, we do have all sorts of amazing technology now. Look at this. We've got studio lines where you can actually call in and talk to me. 305-876-6976 is how you reach us. 305-876-6976. Of course, we want to hear from you. Always love talking to you guys. Also, we're part of the WTF Sports TV family. So if you haven't had a chance to check out those YouTube channels, Facebook channels, Periscope channels, Twitter, we're across all of them live. We invite you to subscribe, and of course, you'll get notified every time we post one of these crazy-ass shows. But we're excited, and I hope you're excited. We've got 1 week of football already in the books. That is right. We got 1 week of football in the books. We are getting ready for week number 2 in the NFL, week number 3 in college football, and we'll get to some of the early Vegas lines and some of the trends that are happening right now with some of these lines that just came out, including the Jets. In many of these books that I have seen, the New York Jets at home are anywhere between it opened up about 1.5 Jets as a home dog, 1.5, and in some places it's actually gone all the way up to 3. The Jets are 3-point underdogs at home. And that's a very interesting statistic right there. And I think I have an idea as to why it is that the Jets are home underdogs after a absolute beatdown last night of the Detroit Lions, Matt Patricia, Matt Stafford. Guys, could it have gone any worse for them than what it did there? I mean, can you guys believe the kind of ass whooping that was opened up by the New York Jets? At one point, I had no idea at what team I was even watching. It was very hard for me to be able to digest that I was actually watching the New York Jets play. It felt like I was watching the Jets play right after Sam Darnold, of course, dropped that pick six for his first interception, his first pass, first pick six, first everything. It kind of felt like I was watching the New York Jets there. And then everything seemed to change. All of a sudden, you've got the New York Jets who have special teams. You have the New York Jets who are playing defense. You have a rookie quarterback that all of a sudden brushed that off and came back out and lit it up. I mean, it was a pleasure to watch. But then again, let's not get crazy because we also know that Ryan Fitzpatrick, he also lit up the Saints at home. So anything is possible in the week 1 of NFL. But I think the bigger storyline from that game had to be what's going on with Matt Patricia and the Detroit Lions, because the reports came out earlier today. If you didn't get a chance to see them, the reports came out earlier today saying there is utter dysfunction going on in the Detroit Lions locker room, and those players are beside themselves. Apparently, Matt Patricia didn't make a whole lot of friends when he first got on the scene in Detroit. In fact, many of the players are saying that he came in and was just a total bully. He's making them stay an hour to an hour and a half later in practices. He's making guys do sprints if they're botching plays. And apparently that did not endear him to his team or to his players, because the word is that they're turning on their coach. And we're not even in week 2 of the NFL yet, and already the Detroit Lions players are turning on Matt Patricia. And you've got to wonder, here we go, another situation where we have a former Bill Belichick disciple now as a head coach that, it's not working out. It's not working out at all. And when you take into consideration that the last 2 games Matt Patricia has been a part of as a coach, he's given up, 48 points, and 31 of them were in the third quarter yesterday alone. And how many did he give up in the Super Bowl against, what was that, 40? I mean, that had to be more. I think the last 2 games, including the last 98 minutes, you're looking at somewhere around 89 points that this guy's defenses have given up. That is not impressive on any level, especially given the fact that you come from Bill Belichick, you come from the Patriots organization. There is a lot of people scratching their head right now in the Matt Patricia era in Detroit. Fans just completely going off, and it doesn't help either that the New York Jets are saying Darren Lee, the linebacker who picked off 2 last night, Darren Lee has been telling everyone that they knew exactly what the plays were. They were pre-reading the plays, and they said that it was if they knew the call before Matt Stafford knew the call. And that brings up a very interesting point to me. That tells me, and for as much crap as Todd Bowles has gotten in the New York media, in the New York market, about a guy that is on the hot seat, supposedly, a guy that a lot of people think he won't make it past the end of this year. What that tells me, and what Darren Lee told us, is that the New York Jets were prepared. The New York Jets were the most prepared team on that field last night. And think about that for a minute. Everybody's already stuck a fork in Todd Bowles, at least many people did prior to this year. And you're telling me that he knows he's got a rookie quarterback, right, under center. He knows that every other facet of the game is going to have to step up, including special teams, including the defense, and the offensive players. They got to step up. You can't put it all on this kid's shoulders right off the get-go. And what happens? You've got defenses picking off the ball 5 times. They're actually reading Matt Stafford. They knew what was coming before Matt Stafford knew what was coming. And to me, that's all about preparation. And if you've got that kind of attitude on the New York Jets team right now, if you've got a situation where guys are elevating and guys are spending the time in the film room and guys are actually taking this seriously, Todd Bowles is not going to go anywhere. Unless something dramatic happens this year, and I don't see it happening, but unless something crazy happens, Todd Bowles is not going anywhere. And he's not going anywhere because this team, and many of the same players on this team were there last year, many of these guys, they play for him, which is why the New York Jets last year were one of the most undervalued teams in the NFL. They went 9-5-3 against the spread last year. If you were a bettor and you bet on the Jets, you made yourself a lot of money last season. And that's exactly kind of the same path we're going down again this year, with the New York Jets opening up on the road in Detroit, -6.5, -7 in most books. When you guys think about that, -6.5 to -7, the Jets were getting those points last night. Now the line comes out, and we're looking at the line being somewhere around -2 to -3 The Jets are going to be home underdogs this week. So here we go again with the undervalued New York Jets heading into week 2 of the NFL season. And I'm sorry, listen, Sam Darnold, the rookie, you watched the kid make the rookie mistake. The interception was anything but professional. It looked like kind of like a high school play that he all of a sudden thought he was going to be able to he thought he was just going to be able to, throw across his body across the field. Well, guess again. Welcome to the NFL, Sam Darnold. But what he did after that, I think was way more impressive than anything else that we have seen thus far. And, what Ryan Fitzpatrick did was great, but I think what Sam Darnold did last night, coming back from giving up that interception, I thought that was pretty poised and pretty impressive. And, yes, Stevie Johnson. Look at that. Stevie Johnson joining us in the chat room here on Facebook Live. Stevie, we love you, brother. Good to see you. What does he want to know, old Stevie? Let's see what he's got. Where is Dildo Baggins? Listen, Dildo is in a box right now, all right? He's getting his hair done, and don't worry about it. He's going to make an appearance a little bit later, but I'm impressed that you actually remember Mr. Dildo Baggins. I can tell you that right now. But I do want to bring in, and as long as you guys are joining us here on this Tuesday, and I do want to tell you also, coming up in just about a half hour, right around 5:30, we are going to take a moment of silence. Today is the anniversary, unfortunately, of 9/11. So we will go ahead and take a moment of silence coming up bottom of this hour. And just remember those who lost their lives, the families of those who lost their lives on that unbelievably tragic day back in 2001. So we're going to do that. But first, I want to bring in a guy that I haven't talked to in a long time, and I'm actually kind of excited to talk to him because he's all over the place, man. He's covering the Dolphins. He's covering the Canes. You got to love his take. I'm not sure if he's going to get on this bus ride or plane ride, whatever the hell's going on at MetLife Stadium. But please welcome in from Antwan Sports and USA Today, Mr. Antwan Staley. Antwan, how are you, man?
I'm doing all right, Joe. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It was funny. I was talking to some of my friends earlier today. I'm like, I'm going to try to get Antwan Staley to come on with us here and talk a little bit about the Dolphins and what's going on. I'm like, the last time I talked to him, I think we were talking about Al Golden and Tony Sparano when it came to the Canes and to the Dolphins. And I'm thinking, damn, it's amazing in just a couple of years how far Miami sports teams, especially the Canes and the Dolphins, have come. And here we are again with Ryan Tannehill being the topic of conversation across the board.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Yeah, I think it was Joe Philbin though instead of Sparano. But yeah,
that's a good point. I think you're right. Even worse. You're absolutely correct. Even worse. And rest his soul there. I don't mean to speak ill of those who have moved on there. But before we get to what's happening this weekend in New York, so far you've been covering the Miami Dolphins. It was an unbelievably long game. I was following you on Twitter, and for those of you that don't follow Antwan, you really need to. It's a lot of fun at Antwan Staley. I was following you. You were at the game. It seemed like you were never going to get out of there. What was it like for those that didn't have a chance to go to the game but were stuck at home trying to figure out if this game was ever going to get completed?
It was just a lot of uncertainty. First of all, it was the first lightning delay, and people were saying, well, what's going on? And nobody knew what was going on if you were in the stadium. And then I actually saw a lightning strike the first time, and then I was like, okay, they have to stop the game at least. It might be like 30, 45 minutes before they started to get kicked off again. And that turned into 2 hours or almost 2 hours. And then we get kicked off once again. And then all of a sudden there's another lightning delay for another 2 hours. And I've never been through anything like this in my life. I've been through weather delays covering baseball, rain delays, but not to this extent. I didn't even know the game was going to be played. I thought they might have to postpone and then maybe play on Monday, but it was just a lot of uncertainty there between the beat writers, the fans, just everybody involved.
I'm wondering, too, and the only thing I could think about at home was watching this game, and it's like, oh, wow, another delay. I'm going, did they keep serving beer throughout the 7 hours? I mean, could you actually go up, and that's where my mind goes, like, can we still get loaded there? I mean, were there people actually still able to go? Did they stop serving alcohol at any point?
From what I understand, they were still serving.
Oh,
Technically,
jeez.
it wasn't the third quarter yet, and I had a friend of mine tell me she was like, "I can't drink anymore. I'm going to be too drunk to drive if I keep drinking." But yeah, because people kept asking me, people kept asking me when they were going to get kicked off, and did I know anything? And I know the second time I was like, "No, I don't know anything. The NFL or the Dolphins hadn't told us anything." And so they would, and I actually told them to go home at that point because I didn't know where it was going to go from there. Yeah, it might have been another 2 or 3 hours. So yeah, they stuck. A lot of my friends stuck it out, and they ended up watching the great conclusion of that game. If you're a Dolphins fan,
it really was. Antwan Staley, USA Today, at the Dolphins Wire, and also covers Canes football for Antwan Sports. He joins us via the Miami Acura hotline. And let me ask you, it was so hard to get a read as sitting home in the living room. Trying to get any sort of ebb and flow as to what the Dolphins were doing and what they weren't doing. You were there for what seems like the 18 hours. What was your impression of what you witnessed with the Miami Dolphins?
I thought it was some good and bad. I thought the good was obviously the big story was Ryan Tannehill playing his first regular season game since 2016, and it was a lot of good. He threw for 2 touchdowns. I thought he was very accurate. To be completely honest, ended up having a quarterback rating around 90. The bad, obviously, the 2 interceptions, one in particular in the end zone to Malcolm Butler, which after that was the second lightning delay. But I think for somebody that hadn't played a game in 21 months, a regular season game, I thought he looked pretty good, and you can only grow from that experience. And I'm sure he's going to continue to get a little bit better as time goes on. But I think it was a lot of good, some bad. But I think considering the circumstances that the Dolphins went through, you just kind of want to get a win and just kind of move on, especially when you're going on the road this week against the Jets.
Yeah, hey, man, MetLife, and we're going to talk about that trip that's going on. I can't wait to hear about this. But it does seem like this is a different Ryan Tannehill this year. He looks the healthiest he's looked in a long time. But from a leadership standpoint, we've seen it throughout the preseason and training camp, and his attitude, the way he carries himself, even after those interceptions, against the Titans. This looks like a very focused and determined Ryan Tannehill. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, I thought ever since he came back from the Dolphins off-season program, I thought he was definitely a different guy, somebody that's you can think about Ryan Tannehill, and I've covered the team since 2014. He's always been accountable. If he throws an interception, he doesn't make any bones about it. He'll say it's his fault, or he'll take full responsibility. But this year it's just a different mindset. I know Adam Gase ended up giving the players the day off on Monday, but Ryan Tannehill said he wanted to come in and be a leader and wanted to have the other players come into the locker room as well and do some work, do some film study when they didn't have to, especially after that long marathon. And I think that's a sign of a great leader there. Look, Ryan, I think it's on the field. Ryan Tannehill is going to be who he is. He's never going to be an Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees or anything like that. But I think if you're a Dolphins fan, you just want him to be as good of a quarterback as he can be accurate, don't make a lot of mistakes. And I think the Dolphins will have a chance to make the playoffs if that happens.
Yeah, the running game, impressive in the first. I can't even call it a half. Before the first delay, the running game seemed to be very good. Then, after the third delay, they kind of got away from it. I don't know whether the Tennessee Titans did some adjusting, but I do think the running game was very impressive to me. And what did you see?
Yeah, I thought Frank Gore surprised a lot of people. A lot of people thought it was just going to be the Kenyon Drake show coming into the season. But Frank Gore played well. He's had 61 yards on 9 carries. He's 14 yards away from tying Curtis Morton, somebody you're familiar with.
Yes.
Tying his record for fourth place all time in NFL history in rushing yards, which is just astounding considering how long Frank Gore has played. But yeah, I think their running game, that's something they're going to rely on a little bit more. They have Drake, they have Frank Gore. I think especially when you have a lead late in the game, I think you need to be able to run the football, and I think that's something the Dolphins had not been able to do in years past. They did it with Jay Ajayi in 2016, but I think they kind of want to get back to that and just be able to have that formula in their arsenal.
Antwan Staley joining us at Antwan Staley on Twitter. He writes for USA Today, the Dolphins Wire, as well as Canes Football for Antwan Sports. And Antwan, it's going to be, you watched the Jets play last night like the whole country did, and we couldn't believe our eyes. And here we are. We wake up this morning, and I saw you on Twitter posting that the line opens up, and we're looking at the Jets being a home underdog, anywhere between 2 and 3 right now, 2 and 3 points. Kind of crazy when you think about it, especially after the results that we got last night. But does that, you think, put a little more added pressure on the Dolphins?
No, I don't think so at all, to be honest with you. I think it might a little bit, but I think you're going on the road. It's going to be a business trip. They understand that the Jets ended up beating them last year in the Meadowlands, something that they pretty much got flat out embarrassed last year. It should have been a shutout. It went for a late Devontae Parker touchdown. And so in my eyes, essentially it was a shut. The Jets shut out the Dolphins and pretty much embarrassed them last year.
Right.
The players understand that. They know that. They're coming in there with a different mindset. They believe they can. I think the winner of this is going to be in good position, 2-0, and that's definitely what you want to be. And the Dolphins definitely want to get there. The Jets looked very impressive last night. I thought the Jets defense was just, especially against Matt Stafford. I know a lot of people may feel Stafford's overrated, but he's still one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and to pick him up 4 times, I think that says something about Todd Bowles and what they're doing defensively. So it's going to be a great game. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the trip. I'll be up there. And I think it's going to be a really, really good game that's going to come down to the fourth quarter.
All right, so you're taking this trip. I know you, USA Today at Dolphins Wire. I know you put together an article here today about what is happening. We've got a MetLife takeover. Tell us what's happening, man.
So for the past 9 years, a couple of people, they were Dolphin fans, and they put together this MetLife takeover. So essentially, they wanted to find somebody. They're New Yorkers. They wanted to find an opportunity to watch somewhere to watch Dolphins games, and that's very hard to do. Obviously, in New York City, at least at the time it was. So they ended up finding a bar, and then they thought they wanted to put together a trip, annually trip to go to MetLife Stadium, and then they called it the MetLife Takeover. Which first it started out as 25 people, and then it grew to 100 and. Now it's over 1,200 people that are going to be showing up for the tailgate. At least that they know of, that they estimated. It could be more.
Wow.
It could be. I'm sure it's going to be more Dolphin fans there. But yeah, at least they're bussing in 1,200 people that they expect to be at that MetLife takeover. And something that started a little bit 9 years ago, and it started out with 25 people. I think that's a great accomplishment on their part. But yeah, it's grown and grown. And actually, the good thing about the Jets is, what I think is very nice, they actually give them 800 seats in the stadium.
Wow.
Was something they don't have to do. A lot of teams don't. Yeah, a lot of teams won't do that, but it's something that the Jets decided they want to do. It may not last if the Sam Darnold era continues to. They were having a great year, or the Jets ended up really getting good, or a playoff team, but it's something that they are doing right now.
And that's great, too. And as a matter of fact, folks can check out the article, learn all about it, the history of this. It's at the Dolphins Wire, correct, USA Today?
Yes, it is, and it'll be a feature in there in the USA Today later on this week about that as well. So you can check that out there if you like. Still like a physical copy as well.
And listen, the fact I love it is I'm still part of that hashtag anybody but Brady clan. So I'm all for it. When the Dolphins are better, when the Jets are better, it's an historic rivalry. It's always great when these two teams are better and are more competitive. I think it's great. The AFC East, we can't keep handing it to Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. So I love this, and I love that it's grown over the years. And Dolphin fans, they catch a lot of slack for not coming to their own home games. But, there's a lot of Dolphin fans that are willing to hop on a plane and travel with this team, and sometimes they get overlooked and they get a bad rap.
Yeah, I actually think there's a lot of Dolphin fans that don't actually live in South Florida. I think they're one of those teams, sort of like the Raiders and some of the other teams in the league, that they don't necessarily live in South Florida and the Miami area. You can find I think you can find a Dolphin fan pretty much anywhere you go in the country. It might be one or two, but you can find some everywhere. And of course, in New York City, of course, there's going to be plenty of them. It might be in that area. They're one of the most popular teams there, outside of of course, the Giants and the Jets. But yeah, I think I think it was a good idea by their part, and it looks like it's going to be a ton of Dolphin fans there again. But yeah, I don't. It doesn't surprise me. It's going to be a lot of Dolphin fans there at that game because it's New York. It's a big rivalry. You even got Dolphin fans from down here that are traveling to the game.
Yep.
So I expect it to be a nice crowd, and I think it's gonna be a fun game. I really do.
It's going to be awesome, Antwan Staley. All right, before I let you go, Antwan, let me touch quickly on the Miami Hurricanes. Just an absolute brutal national loss there, Game 1. And then they come back and they beat, I think it was Dwyer. Did they play Dwyer last week? They're covered by 61. So
Savannah State.
Savannah State. Yeah, so were they able to, and this is what has always made Mark Richt who he is, being able to refocus this team, get them back on track over there. Everybody wanted to get a new quarterback after week 1 over here. Has that all calmed down a little bit now?
No, and actually no. Mark Richt said today he was asked if he committed to Malik Rozier as his quarterback, and he didn't necessarily give a vote of confidence there, saying that, well, we're going to go with the best guy that gives us the best chance to win. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing it, but he kind of said something to that effect. And yeah, you're just leaving that question hanging over fans' head as you're going to see maybe N'Kosi Perry this weekend against Toledo, because Toledo is a really good offense. I expect Miami to win the game, but it's not going to be as easy as what some people think, because we're talking about a really good team in the MAC conference that can also score points. I think the Hurricanes should win the game, but the last time they played, which was last year, Toledo was actually led at halftime in that football game. A lot of people forget that before the Canes ended up coming back and win it. So it would not surprise me, especially going on the road in the Midwest, if Toledo gave them a little bit of battle before Miami ended up winning that football game.
Might actually be pretty good that it's actually out of South Florida and they're on the road. Might focus them a little bit more. But careful what you wish for, Canes fans. If it's not Malik Rozier, what's next, honestly? I mean, what could we honestly say is next that gives us a better chance to win?
Yeah, you have a true freshman there that I think a lot of people like, but true freshman and Williams. You don't necessarily know what you're going to get. You got Weldon there, who was the backup to Malik Rozier against LSU, and you had N'Kosi Perry, who was suspended for that game against LSU for some academic reasons. You still don't know. You have no idea what you're going to get out of those guys. And I feel like if Mark Richt felt like they had the best chance to win with one of those guys, they would have been starting against LSU. But I guess he feels like Malik Rozier gives them the best opportunity to win football games right now.
It is what it is, and it's a road matchup. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is Saturday. So what is your schedule, Antwan? Are you going Saturday and then flying to New York? Like, what you doing?
I'm actually leaving a little bit early because of I don't know what the travel is going to be like with this hurricane possibly coming through. So I'm leaving on Thursday, and then I will be up there, and I'll be in New York a little bit early, a couple of days early. I planned on leaving Friday, but I thought it'd be a good idea to just kind of leave Thursday.
There you go. All right, it is going to be another unbelievably epic weekend. South Florida sports, Dolphins, Canes, both on the road, both big games, no matter how you look at it, even though it's still early on in the season. You've got very little wiggle room for the Miami Hurricanes here, and you got the Jets and Dolphins, only one game apiece, but they're both undefeated is how I look at it, so it's going to be a fun game there as well. Antwan Staley at the Dolphins Wire, at Antwan Staley, and of course at Athlon Sports where he covers the Canes. Antwan, thank you for taking a few minutes, my friend. Thanks for hanging out with me. It's a pleasure talking to you. Looking forward to doing it again.
Yeah, let's do it again sometime, Joe. You take it easy.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Antwan Staley, Athlon Sports. Make sure you check him out. Really going to be a fun weekend when you look at the Canes on the road, Toledo, and then he's got an entire crew, and I didn't even realize that they do this, but you've got an entire crew over the last 9 years who's been traveling with the Miami Dolphins to New York, to MetLife Stadium, and whether the teams have been good or bad, and they haven't been great over the last couple of years, well, more than the last couple, but it's nice to see that there's still some passion and some fan base, some people in the fan bases that because we know when the Jets come to Miami, we know what that stadium looks like. So it's nice to see that Dolphin fans are coming out and supporting the team. And let's face it, anybody but Brady, man. Anybody but Brady. I'll be good to go. All right, coming up next, do want to tell you the latest that is going on in the NFL. We're going to talk a little Major League Baseball playoffs. If you haven't figured it out, we're only about a couple of weeks left before the Major League Baseball playoff season starts. You are not going to believe what's happening with the Chicago Cubs and the National League Central, nor will you believe what the hell is going on with one team in the American League East. If you haven't been following Major League Baseball, we'll give you the latest here. There are some huge, and I mean huge, games coming your way tonight. So we'll get you all caught up with that. Plus, we are just about 10 minutes away. We are going to take a moment of silence here on this September 11th, 2018. I'm going to take just a moment to be able to remember those that lost their lives back in 2001, and we will do that coming up at the bottom of the hour. So hang out, a couple of minutes. We'll be right back. Thanks for making us a part of your day. Welcome back in. Happy Tuesday to you. I am Joe Raineri. Thank you very much for stopping by and making me a part of your day. If you're on the ride home, if you've got us on here across all three platforms, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, want to thank the at WTF SPORTS TV network for having us on here. And of course, this is a studio line up top there. If you got something to say, if you want to share your thoughts, by all means, 305-876-6976. Want to thank Antwan Staley, USA Today, for stopping by, talking a little Canes and Miami Dolphins, who both face some interesting road tests this weekend. The Canes on their way to Toledo, who, like he had said, they were pretty tough last year, and if it wasn't for the second half, they kind of got their ass handed to them in the first half of that game last year. So it'll be interesting. It's a good test for the Miami Hurricanes. They're not playing, Dwyer High School now this week, like they were last week. So this is going to be an interesting test for them. And of course, the Dolphins are on their way to MetLife Stadium to take on my New York Jets. And the line, the latest, having taken a look here, the line looks, it's fluctuating between -1.5 to as much as 3 points. You're looking at the Miami Dolphins being a road favorite this weekend. And some of you, I know, you're going like, "What? Well, why is that?" I mean, the Jets looked unbeatable last night against the Detroit Lions. Like, why would that be? Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, bettors usually don't like a team coming off a Monday night win the following week. So bettors historically tend to fade the other way because of the fact that they think it's a short week. They think that plays a part into it, and they notoriously, the numbers and the trends over the years favor the teams, the opponents of those who have played on Monday night on a short week. So it doesn't surprise me so much that the Dolphins are a favorite here, but it's the way it's fluctuating now between a 1.5 and 3 is a little crazy if you ask me. But there's still plenty of time left in the week for that number to fluctuate and even itself out, because once the sharp money comes in, once the big hitters in Vegas, once their money comes in, you'll probably be looking at the Jets being a favorite at some point in this week. But it doesn't surprise me that the public loves and Vegas loves the road team who is coming on a full week's work of practice, and the Jets having a short week. Probably had a very light workout off today, so only got 5 days before the game, so it doesn't surprise me there all that much. But if you're going to get yourself, if you're going to take some action, if you're going to lay anything out on this game, do it now where the numbers are, because once that money starts coming in from the sharps, that's when Vegas starts to hedge itself and make sure that they get protected. So that's when all of a sudden the numbers start to swing the other way. So if you can get -3 right now, like I did a little while ago with the Jets, I'll take that all day at home. MetLife. Yes, I know it's a rookie quarterback, and I'm sure that played into the situation there as well. But No, the Jets notoriously play the Dolphins very difficult in MetLife. It's been a tough matchup for the Dolphins over the years, and I think it's going to be an even tougher matchup coming up this Sunday. But it's good because anybody other than Tom Brady, I'm all for it, and it doesn't look like we can count on the Bills to win 2 games this year. The Bills are looking for the first pick in the draft next year, so good for them. But one of the other storylines that has arisen from last night's games was Jon Gruden being back. And Gruden's back. Yes, did you see that? That was the big thing last night, that Jon Gruden and the Raiders are back. It's like he's turning back the clock. It's his long-awaited return, like it was 1999 all over again. And, yeah, for a half, can I just tell you something? For a half, it looked like Gruden hadn't skipped a beat. It looked like the Raiders were the Raiders of old. And then something happened in that second half. It's called Derek Carr. Derek Carr became Derek Carr again, and threw just some awful and I mean awful interceptions in that game in the second half. They played tough. They played typical Jon Gruden football. The Raiders, that is, they were kind of pushing the Rams' defensive front. They were kind of pushing them all over the field last night. Marshawn Lynch looked like beast mode of old. If you guys didn't get a chance to see that, this is what it looked like last night. It was crazy.
Head coach Jon Gruden takes such pride in that. Lynch testing the middle and getting a push right through. Effort play. Raiders score it.
Yeah, that was crazy. That's how the game started out, and you had Raider fans going ballistic. I mean, Twitter was getting blown up by all of these Raider fans who were like, "Oh my God, Gruden's back! Here we go!" Also, Jared Cook was having an unbelievable game. Now, Jared Cook, you may remember, was on the Rams, and they just felt like they couldn't get out of him what they thought he could be, and he showed last night why it is that a lot of people are very high on Jared Cook as a tight end, especially in fantasy football. This is a guy you got to have. We've already seen what he looks like with Derek Carr. These two are on the same page.
Does he get aggressive?
Here's Carr on 3rd and 13, settles underneath again, keeping in front, breaks the initial tackle, and bowls his way ahead. Does Jared Cook? He just ran over Aqib Talib.
That's just great.
Yeah, Aqib Talib was looking for if anybody got the license plate of that truck that ran him over. It was actually pretty brutal there. This was a good game. I mean, this was an entertaining game again in the first half. And then, you had, for some reason, I don't know what it is, Derek Carr, he just can't seem to get it right, man. Derek Carr is a hot mess. He is a hot mess, especially when it comes to passes that are over 20 yards. I believe, if I have it correct, but Derek Carr led the NFL last year in interceptions, deep ball interceptions. He led the NFL 7 interceptions on passes thrown 20 or more yards downfield. And he was doing the same crap again last night. Same stuff.
Soft spots and then attacking.
Carr backed up. Picked off. How sloppy was that? Corey Littleton with the interception. Flag is down on the return, and Carr is going to be so upset with himself.
Yeah, no, well, Raider fans were upset with him. Jon Gruden was upset with him. The entire stadium was upset with him. But it is typical, unfortunately, typical Derek Carr. That's what he brings to the table on a consistent basis. And I don't know how it is that you plan on moving forward and winning as the Raiders organization with this guy. And I don't think it is going to take very long before, forget about Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack wasn't helping you win that game last night. He was not, unless he plays offense somewhere along the line, he wasn't going to help you win that game last night. But don't you think for 1 minute that Gruden, those 2 number ones that he got in return for Khalil Mack from Chicago, I can promise you Jon Gruden is already trying to figure out a way to be able to use those to go out and get a quarterback that he actually likes, because I don't think there's any way that Jon Gruden is looking at Derek Carr. And I know they've played it that way, like, Derek Carr, it's Gruden loves him, that's why he took the job. No, he took the job because the Davis family threw $100 million at him to be able to coach and run this organization. That's why he took the job. It wasn't because he was in love with Derek Carr. There's not a whole hell of a lot to like. He's got a big arm, but above the shoulders, and he throws interceptions like that, and he can't seem to. Amari Cooper was nowhere to be found last night, and this is your number one receiver. You got rid of Crabtree because you didn't think he was an asset anymore. So I don't see Derek Carr, the Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders, whatever you're saying, and I don't see them being I don't see that being a marriage made in heaven. And it was very interesting, too. To me, this was all about, again, second half adjustments. We witnessed this Sunday night with Chicago and Green Bay. You watched Chicago just wiped the field with Green Bay in the first half of that game Sunday night. And then Aaron Rodgers does the whole Willis Reed thing, comes out, on one leg and ends up torching Chicago. But what was more telling in that game was the fact that Green Bay made the adjustments and Chicago didn't at halftime. The Jets, same thing yesterday. The Jets were the most prepared team on that field yesterday, and it showed, especially in the second half. And I think you saw the same in the late game with the Raiders and the Rams. You looked at a Rams team who, by the way, played absolutely no starters during the preseason. None. So Aaron Donald wasn't even in camp until just about a week and a half ago or so. They didn't play anybody, any of their starters during the preseason. So last night's first half was pretty much the preseason for the Rams front seven on defense. And you can tell because once they started to get their legs under them, the second half was a totally different game. That team is loaded outside of the linebackers, which is going to be an issue for them. And we saw it again last night. You saw Marshawn Lynch's run. Once they get to the next level, past that interior of Sue and Donald and those beasts that they got going on there, what you're going to see and where they're hurting right now, the Rams, is at the linebacker position, man. Beyond that, in the secondary, they are stacked. This is a loaded team. And, oh, by the way, Sean McVay at 32, 33 years old made Gruden look foolish. That second half, from a offensive standpoint alone, looked terrible for Gruden and Derek Carr. It looked like they didn't have any idea, no communication. They weren't on the same page at all. He starts chucking up these interceptions. You got receivers running wrong routes. You've got that infamous Gruden look on the sideline, like, what are you people doing? What's going on? Very little conversation between them. Not impressed at all. And then you had McVay on the other side, making adjustments at halftime and letting Gurley kind of take over the game. And all of a sudden now you got Brandon Cooks, you got a shiny new toy, and that shiny new toy ended up lighting up the Raiders defense in the second half of that game. So all in all, I'm impressed with the Rams. I think they're only going to get better as their starters, who again didn't play during the preseason, once they get their legs underneath them, they're going to be ferocious on defense. And anytime you got Todd Gurley and Brandon Cooks, there are some weapons on that offense that are going to be able to put up some points. Jared Goff, I thought he was good. I didn't think he was great. But you can tell the progression and how far he has come with Sean McVay. Sean McVay is going to be around this league for a really, really long time. 32, 33 years old. I don't give a crap. This guy can flat out coach, and he's got players, including guys like Ndamukong Suh, and the Miami Dolphins fans will tell you, Ndamukong Suh can be a cancer in a locker room. Ndamukong Suh, when things aren't going well, can be a serious issue in this locker room. And so far, so good. Ndamukong Suh is not the biggest name in that locker room like he was here in Miami. That would be Donald. That would be the biggest name in that locker room, and Todd Gurley, and now Jared Goff. So he's got things rolling. The Rams are going to be a very difficult team to beat, and especially at home, going to be a very difficult team to beat. The Raiders, oh, man, it's unfortunate, but you play 4 quarters, and Jon Gruden is going to be looking at that film and looking at Derek Carr, and he's going to be trying to think, well, how do we go about and get ourselves a new quarterback? How do I use those draft picks to go out and get a quarterback that I can actually work with and one that I can actually win with? Because this is a teardown, make no mistake about it. The Oakland Raiders, they're tearing it down. They didn't bring Khalil Mack for a reason because, A, you've got the city of Oakland suing them. They don't even know if they're going to have a place to play next year. They play in a baseball stadium that is total garbage. It's one of the worst baseball stadiums in the MLB, and they use it as a football field. Awful. And they're being sued by the city of Oakland. So there is so much dysfunction going on with the Raiders right now. Khalil Mack didn't want to come back if you listen to Gruden, so they let a potential Hall of Famer walk out the door. So this is a complete rebuild. Don't lull yourself into thinking that there's a chance of being competitive here, because there isn't. The Raiders are in full dysfunction, breakdown, rebuild mode with Jon Gruden, and I don't see how Gruden is looking at Derek Carr and going, "Yeah, I can win with this. I can definitely win with this." So those were some of my thoughts there on last night and what we witnessed. 305-876-6976. That is the phone number. That is how you reach us here on the show. What are your thoughts? What did you think about the Oakland Raiders last night? And were the Jets that good, or were the Lions that bad? Which way do you fall on that? Were the Jets just that prepared and that good, or were the Detroit Lions just total hot garbage? And my, oh my, it's no way to tell really if the Jets won that game or if the Lions lost that game. Your thoughts at 305-876-6976. That's 305-876-6976. All right, today is 9/11, 2018. Today is the anniversary of that day. Many of us will never forget. Nobody will ever forget. So at this time, I'd like to just take a moment of silence, if we could, and kind of put our heads down and remember those who lost their lives, the families of those who lost their lives on that very tragic day, and let us all never, ever, ever forget what September 11, 2001 did to this country, and let us make sure, it's easy to forget, but let's make sure that people don't forget. So I'd like to take a quick moment of silence, if I could, to remember those who lost their lives on 9/11, 2001. Okay, guys, welcome back. Thank you very much for making us a part of your day. If you're just joining us, well, thanks. Thanks for stopping by here as we try to cover the world of sports and what's going on. Excited to want to thank Antwan Staley from USA Today for dropping by. Tomorrow, Chris Chase, Fox Sports, he'll be joining us. This Serena Williams story won't go away, and he's got a nugget of information. He's telling me that the world is going to want to know about Serena Williams. So we'll go ahead and talk to him tomorrow, 5 p.m. We'll hear exactly what Chris Chase from Fox Sports has to say. But I do also want to thank our friends over at Miami Acura. Thank you very much. They also want to go ahead and let you know that the deals on the all-new 2019 RDX are out of control, and they'd like you to stop by, take the car for a test drive. They tell me that once you take it for a test drive, chances are they're going to have to call the cops on you, because there is no way in this world you are ever bringing the car back. It's the all-new 2019 RDX only at Miami Acura. South Dixie Highway, for those of you in the 305 and the 954. You can just hit them up at 855-564-4669. Just tell them you're coming. Tell them Joe said that I can take this car and never bring it back. No, actually, don't do that. But make sure that you call them at 855-564-4669 and just let them know that, hey, guess what? I'm taking the all-new 2019 RDX for a spin. So there, how do you like me now? By the way, if you haven't heard, the NFL admitted that they blew it, and they blew it big time. And I don't know, man. If you watch these games on Sunday or Sunday night or yesterday, the roughing the passer calls have just become a joke where you don't know what is considered, what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. but there was a play in the Cleveland Browns-Pittsburgh Steelers game that a flag was thrown on Myles Garrett of the Browns, which ultimately ended up costing the Cleveland Browns the game. Okay, now Cleveland didn't lose, but they didn't win. But at the same time, it was because the refs got involved on a Myles Garrett sack of Ben Roethlisberger that they threw a flag on. And here was the play. All right, now they threw the flag on this, saying that was roughing the passer. So throw that back on there one more time so they can see it. Let me throw that back one more time for you. Yeah, this was apparently what they said. He put his weight on him, or I guess that's what the flag was calling, because they're saying that, Myles Garrett at this point, now he moves to the side. You see, his weight didn't go completely down on Ben Roethlisberger, and the NFL admitted so much today, saying that we blew it, that Myles Garrett didn't land with most or all of his body weight on Roethlisberger, and therefore it should not have been called a foul. And the reason why this is so important, don't forget, is because just a few plays later, the Steelers ended up taking it. James Conner ran it from the 4 and made it 7-0 with 11:16 left to go in the half. That was a touchdown that the Steelers should never have been able to have, and the only reason they had it is because you had officials throwing flags with plays like that. And this has been happening. It's been happening all preseason. This idea that these guys at 300 pounds, they run 4.4 40s, 300 pounds, they're supposed to somehow tackle these guys and then float away and not leave their weight on them. I just don't see how the hell that's ever going to happen. But that's what you've got, and I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of this the Monday after these games, where they start reviewing the flags and the penalties that were thrown. And a lot more teams are going to be like the Cleveland Browns, where they're going to end up costing games because of plays just like this. These refs are going to, if they see anybody land on top of a quarterback, they're going to be throwing flags, and I'm telling you, it's going to get uglier. They don't know what a catch is, and we have absolutely no idea what the hell a tackle is anymore in this league either. They're just going to throw yellow flags every chance that they can get, and more teams are going to be sacrificing wins because of it. You can't expect to wind these guys up, twist them up, get them going, and then all of a sudden, you don't. What are you supposed to do? These guys are supposed to tackle them and then float away or drop your weight to a one side. It's never, ever, ever, ever going to happen that way. So I feel bad for the Cleveland Browns, although you are the Cleveland Browns. So I guess there's really not that point in feeling that bad from you. 305-876-6976 is how you reach us. Baseball season is in full effect here, guys. Just about 2 weeks left to go before the playoffs. And I'm not sure if you guys have had a chance to follow what's going on. If you haven't been following baseball because your team is the Marlins, if you're in the 305, then I understand completely. But if you haven't been following baseball, some very interesting storylines are happening. Right now, the Milwaukee Brewers are just a game back of the Chicago Cubs in the National League Central. Now, you're saying, well, what's crazy about that? Well, what's crazy about that is that the Cleveland Browns, the Milwaukee Brewers, should be nowhere near the top of the standings. And yet, here we are. They ended up beating Chicago last night in Chicago. Game 2 of the 3-game set is tonight. And all of a sudden, cocky Chicago Cub fans are going, what's going on with the Brewers? Not to mention, you've got the Cardinals in the rearview mirror, who are also winning games at a ridiculous clip. And now the National League, all of a sudden, it's a head-scratcher for some of these teams. It's going to go down to the wire, I promise you, in the National League Central. Those Cub fans who just automatically thought it was God-given right that the Cubs would somehow win the Central and make it to the playoffs, slow your roll, Cubs fans, because the Milwaukee Brewers are in town. And I believe, what do we got here? We've only got about 2 weeks left into the season, but my, oh my. And as far as the Cardinals go, keep in mind that the Cardinals, after they fired that atrocious piece of Mike Matheny back on July 14th, since that day, since July 15th, They are 33-18. Think about that now. 33-18 since they fired Mike Matheny, that being the St. Louis Cardinals. Now they only trail the A's, who are 33-15, and the Red Sox, who also have been on fire since July 15th for the best record in baseball. So you've got some teams that are on fire in the second half, that all of a sudden teams like the Cubs, who have been sleeping a little bit, or the Yankees, who have been trying to get their shit together, all of a sudden, man, you got 2 weeks left to go. We've already seen what the A's can do. The Milwaukee Brewers, because they're a small market, same situation. People probably haven't spent a lot of time talking about the Milwaukee Brewers. Well, the reality is the Milwaukee Brewers are outstanding, and they're taking a run for it. So there's nothing promised to the Chicago Cubs, and that makes my heart warm. And the Cardinals, they deserve every bit of congratulations that they have. Finally getting rid of Mike Matheny, that guy who was responsible for blowing out arm after arm after arm on that team. The best thing that happened, the Cardinals have already won as far as I'm concerned. So the fact that you got rid of Mike Matheny is great. The fact that you have almost the best record in baseball since you've done it just proves that in baseball, it's one of those sports. It's not like football and basketball. Baseball is one of those sports where you've got to really, really like the people that you're playing with. 162 game schedule. You could have a team filled with a bunch of nobodies. And I bet, as you're watching this right now, how many of you can name 2 Milwaukee Brewers players? You probably can't. Or how many of you can even name some of the Oakland A's, the Athletics over there? You probably can't do that either. And that's okay. But what you need to know is you don't have to have a whole lot of stars. It doesn't have to be, I need LeBron James and 3 or 4 other guys to be able to compete for championships. In baseball, it's so important that guys believe in each other and that guys will get up and go and not care about what other people say or think about him. And you can do it in small markets like Oakland and Milwaukee because the spotlight isn't on you. Look what they're doing in Tampa. Has anybody watched the Tampa Bay Rays? And I know you're laughing. There was just a couple of months ago, how many of us were looking at the Tampa Bay Rays and going, between them and the Marlins, they should just put the key in the door and close these damn franchises because they're awful. Well, what you may not have found is that the Tampa Bay Rays, they are 18.5 games back in the American League East. So don't get crazy. It's not like they're going to go anywhere. But what they have done, the second half of baseball, 26-11, they're the only team in Major League Baseball with a winning percentage north of 700 since July 31st. So they have been playing lights out. Kevin Cash finally getting talked about as manager of the year in Major League Baseball, as well he should. This guy, what he has done for a team that has pretty much traded everybody. They traded away their catcher, right? Wilson Ramos. They traded him to the Phillies. They got rid of Nathan Eovaldi. They sent him to the Red Sox. And, oh, yeah, by the way, they got rid of Chris Archer, their best pitcher, to the Pittsburgh Pirates. They did all of that and then somehow have managed to go 26-11 since that time. And the only team over the last couple of months to be able to be north of 700. That is impressive. That is very, very impressive. They're not going to win. They're not going to win squat. I mean, trust me with that. They're not going to win anything. But the fact that they have managed to be able to do this in this shorter time is pretty damn impressive what they've got going. And again, you probably don't know anybody on the Tampa Bay Rays, but baseball is one of those sports where you don't have to have a team filled with stars. You don't have to have a stud quarterback. You don't need to have these things. You don't need Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. You just need to have a bunch of guys who believe in themselves, like ownership. They like the guys that they're playing with, and they don't know any better. And all of a sudden, come September and October, they can do some damage. So you don't always need a $200 million payroll to be competitive in baseball. You just need to have a bunch of guys who believe that they can win and then go out and do it. And the Oakland A's, the Milwaukee Brewers, the Tampa Bay Rays, they are living proof of that right now. These teams are really, nobody wants to play the Brewers. Nobody's going to want to play the Cardinals. And I can tell you, if the Rays somehow manage to be able to pull this off a little sooner, the Rays wouldn't be a team anybody wants to play. And it's not like anybody wants to play the Oakland A's because they don't want to do that either. But very interesting as the final 2 weeks roll down here in Major League Baseball. Keep an eye on them, boy. You have got some races that are happening, and I love to see Cubs fans squirm because it's always great because they keep telling me how they're the greatest thing since ice cream and that they've got the best team and they're going to win everything and yada, yada. They've been beating up poor Cardinals fans for how long now? So it's nice to see the Milwaukee Brewers come out of nowhere and be competitive and be really, really good. So that game tonight, I believe, first pitch 7:05. Make sure you check out that game, MLB Network, if you get a chance. So, oh my goodness, how much fun is this? Again, the studio line, 305-876-6976. That's how you reach us here on the show. Also want to thank our good friends at WTF Sports TV, putting this all together there, putting sports content, building these studios out, all of that kind of good stuff there so we can come and bring you the kind of sports content that you look for and that you deserve, and you can do it on your own time. We go live a lot throughout the day. You'll see all sorts of schedules there of people going live on WTF Sports TV, and if not, you can do what everybody else does these days, and you can go ahead and watch it on demand, because that's really where it's at. You can watch it back. If you didn't get a chance to see it live, you can always watch it back on replay and get your fill that way. So this has been an awful lot of fun. We got to get ready. We got some baseball here to watch tonight. I know we've got all sorts of people coming up next here at WTF Sports TV. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so. Please go ahead and subscribe. Tell your friends and tell your neighbors. Tell that annoying coworker that's in the cubicle next to you that, this is the place to go. Make sure you subscribe, like, tweet, do all of that good stuff along those lines. Tomorrow, Chris Chase, Fox Sports will join us. Also, Jersey Kids Picks will be joining us tomorrow. Here is a guy that, when it comes to betting services, if you want to make some money, there is nobody hotter and nobody better than this guy. He's going to join us tomorrow, too. Give us some of the do's and don'ts when it comes to sports betting, especially if you're a novice and you're looking to get into it now that it's legal. This is a guy that you're going to want to hear. And we're going to talk to him about the upcoming Jets-Miami Dolphins game, where the Jets seem to be a home underdog to begin the week. So have a great day. Thank you very much, guys, for making us a part of it again. Please subscribe, do all of that good stuff, and make sure you check out Miami Acura. Make sure you take a test drive, the all-new 2019 RDX. That's right. Dixie Highway for those of you in the 305 and the 954 and the 561. If you want to take a ride, it's South Dixie Highway, Palmetto Bay, or just call them. Tell them, listen, I'm coming to steal your car. Your all new 2019 RDX. Joe says I can have it. 855-564-4669. That's 855-564-4669. Want to thank you guys again. Have a great night. Come back and join us tomorrow, 4 p.m. We get to do it all over again. How cool is that? Have a great day, guys. Thanks again. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.